Hey guys, it's Ariana with the Epi Fam. So I've been feeling it heavy on my heart to kind of share my story of my first and only experience with a miscarriage. And some of you may have seen my tattoo by now on my wrist. And I just feel like I should share my story and explain to you guys why I have that tattoo and what it means to me, because it holds something in my heart and I want to share it with you guys. So yeah, here goes my story. And if you can see, I'm in my messy closet. My closet is kind of like, it's always been my safe haven. Even when I was a kid, I loved to write and be in my closet. I don't know why, it's just my thing. So anyways, here's my story. So back in, I believe it was 2016. It might have been 2015 because I remember Phoenix was pretty young. She was born in December of 2014. I was feeling really sick all the time and nauseous, and I was like, there's no really way, but I mean, it's always possible that you could be pregnant, even if you think that you're most likely not. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to just go take a pregnancy test, one of those cheap dollar ones, and just to see, even though I was like, there's no way. I just had a baby and I'd be crazy. So I get the test, I get home, I take the test, like, kind of just feeling, it was just kind of like later in the day. So, it's if it's early, usually it won't show positive. So anyways, and it was positive, and I was shocked. I mean, I've never been that shocked. The two pregnancies I had before that, I was like, I knew when I was pregnant, there was no questions about it, and I was so excited. And just to be on the safe side, I didn't say anything to Steve, because I was like, well, if I really am, I want to surprise him and make it fun. So I went ahead and went to a clinic nearby that has free pregnancy testing. It's where I went with my first one with Hayden. And they're like, I don't know. They just asked a bunch of questions. I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know any of the information you're asking me for once. So she took me in the room and I took the test and I walked out and she said it's negative. I was like, what? Like, how? Okay, well, all right. And then I'm walking away and she runs down the hall and she's like, wait, stop, Mrs. Uppenstein. I don't know. They just asked a bunch of questions. I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know any of the information you're asking me for once. So she took me in the room and I took the test and I walked out and she said it's negative. I was like, what? Like, how? Okay, well, all right. And then I'm walking away and she runs down the hall and she's like, wait, stop, Mrs. Uppenstein. You're pregnant. And so then again, here comes the shock. So all the way home, I'm just like, it's just those thoughts that go in your head. I have a new baby. I'm exhausted. How is this going to work? Just all those thoughts go racing through your mind. You're like, how, why, when? Like, you just get those guilty thoughts like, can I do this? And I was like, you know what though? I'm pregnant. It is what it is. And I'm going to love this baby and I'm going to cherish it. And I had a feeling from the beginning that it was going to be a boy. And I don't know if it was just hopeful or it's something that was real. But anyways, I got home and I took the paper from the clinic and I taped my at-home pregnancy test to it and I hung it in the closet where Steve would see it when he got home from work. And I'm going to add a picture in here to show you a little bit of my little surprise that I did for him, to announce to him that I was expecting. So he got home, did as usual, got ready for the shower, came in the closet, came out, acted like, nothing. I said, did you look at the paper hanging in the closet? He's like, what is it? And I explained to him. And he's like, well, Steve never, ever wants to admit he never believes it until he actually sees like the first ultrasound. And he's like, well, we'll see. I'm like, well, pregnancy, there's only like, that one main hormone, so I don't know what we're going to see, but okay. He's like, no, if you are, we'll make it work. That's great. So I don't remember like the couple days after that. I just remember like the days that followed, but I just remember like, I think it was like the third day I started spotting, and I was like, well, maybe it's implantation bleeding. And if you don't know what that is, just Google it. And then the next day I started cramping really bad. And then the next day I just started bleeding a lot. And I'm just like praying, maybe this is just, maybe this is just something Steve never ever wants to admit. He never believes it until he actually sees like the first ultrasound. And he's like, well, we'll see. I'm like, well, pregnancy, there's only like, that one main hormone, so I don't know what we're going to see, but okay. He's like, no, if you are, we'll make it work. That's great. So I don't remember like the couple days after that. I just remember like the days that followed, but I just remember like, I think it was like the third day I started spotting, and I was like, well, maybe it's implantation bleeding. And if you don't know what that is, just Google it. And then the next day I started cramping really bad. And then the next day I just started bleeding a lot. And I'm just like praying, maybe this is just, maybe this is just something like some girls experience their period during their early pregnancy. And I called my OBGYN, and they're like, well, let's do blood tests to confirm that you're pregnant. And the blood test came back 2 or 3 days later. I was pregnant, and numbers were pretty high. So I was probably 10, 12 weeks. And from there, they're like, well, the bleeding could be normal, but, more than likely you're probably miscarrying. And I was like, miscarrying? Nobody in my family that I know of, none of my immediate family has ever had a miscarriage. I didn't think, I'm like, no way. Like, that's not in my family history. That's not in my life plan. This is my baby, and I'm not going to miscarry this baby. I mean, I was like, no, I'm not going to. So they want to do blood work I believe it was every 2 days I had to go in for blood work. So I told my whole family, like, you guys, I need your help. I want you to pray. Do whatever we can. I'm not losing this baby. And this is mine. I'm keeping it. And a couple days went by. Did my blood work again. And they called and like, Ariana, I'm really sorry. I remember I was driving. I was almost home. They called and they said, Ariana, I'm really sorry, but you are miscarrying. So a couple days later, they called, and I asked them to please hold because Steve and I were downstairs with, I don't remember who it was, but we were doing business with someone, and I said, please hold, and came up to my closet here, and she said, I'm so sorry, Ariana, but you are miscarrying. I hung up the phone. I don't even remember if I said goodbye. And I don't remember really ever crying like that before. I broke down. My chest started hurting. And I physically felt like I could not breathe. I felt like my chest was collapsing. And I cried out, why, God? Why? This is my child. This is a part of me. This can't be happening. And I just remember everything got black, and I fell to the ground, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't catch my breath. And thank God my mom had just gotten home. And of course, a part of me was trying to be quiet because there was a lady downstairs and I couldn't stop. I couldn't breathe. And my mom came in and she's like, Ariana, you have to breathe. Just breathe. You're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. I've never felt something like this in my life. I've never even, at this point, hadn't even lost someone close to me. I don't understand this feeling, this loss of something I never really knew. And to try to tell someone what they're going to feel and what they're going to go through and the emotions that are going to hit them, you can't expect someone to feel the way you're going to feel. I feel like the best people that were there for me just were there, because in the days that passed, and it came after that dark day. I mean, I don't know if you've ever gone through miscarriage, but in my case, I had to go every few days and make sure that the numbers came down on their own. And I was fortunate, if you want to call it fortunate enough, that they came down on their own and I didn't have to have, I believe it's called a D&C. So anyways, after that, I went through some depression. It was the first time I knew I really on their own. And I was fortunate, if you want to call it fortunate enough, that they came down on their own and I didn't have to have, I believe it's called a D&C. So anyways, after that, I went through some depression. It was the first time I really knew I was depressed. My husband would try to help me in the sense of, Ariana, you have to be here for your other two kids. You have to be here. I would just stare off into the distance and forget my surroundings, and just forget where I was, because there was just this dark cloud over me. And of course, as a mother, you feel guilt. Did I do something wrong? Did I take some wrong medicine? Did I not? What did I do? It had to have been my fault. And so when I talked to my doctor about it, he's like, there's just nothing you can do. There was nothing you could have done to change the outcome. And I'm like, I don't believe you. You're trying to spare my feelings. There has to be something I did. So for a while there, I felt dark. I felt helpless. I felt defeated. And every time I would get on my chart, I would see my numbers dropping. They say it's a good thing that my numbers are dropping. And all I see is something inside of me dying. Something that was mine. Just dying. So I just want to share my story, because for a while there, I felt ashamed. I truly and honestly felt like this isn't something that we should be talking about. People don't need to know how I feel. And I think that's another reason I got into such a depression, because I felt guilty. I felt ashamed. I felt like you don't talk about these kind of things. This is private. And if you want to be private about it, that's okay. But I feel like maybe if I had been a little bit more open publicly about, at the time, how I was feeling, then maybe I wouldn't have gotten so depressed. But I fought through it. I got through it. And it's something I don't wish upon anybody. And if you've gone through it, I'm so sorry. And yes, I have finally come to the conclusion that I lost a child. This child was a part of me and my family. And something else that happened while I was experiencing it. I had a little girl that has grown up in our church, and she's very close to us. Let me go back. So when I was pregnant with Phoenix, she would come up to my belly before I knew Phoenix was a girl, and she would, say, God, please let it be a girl. I already know it's a girl. And so with this baby, she would come up to my belly and say, she calls me Nani. Well, she used to. Nani, you're having a boy. There's a baby boy. And mind you, I never shared with her that I was pregnant, that I was experiencing this miscarriage or anything. She would just come up to my belly and say, there's a baby boy inside of you. Hi, baby boy. And I just believe that that was God's way of letting me know, giving me a little bit of comfort in such a hard, dark time, that I know the gender. That was my baby boy. So that's my story. And please don't take anything I say the wrong way. This is just my experience and what I went through. And I just hope, even if it just helps one person who may be feeling a depression or anxiety about it. I didn't grow up where we talked about depression and anxiety, because I do know that God can help you through it, but I also know that God gives us people to help us through it. So if you're experiencing it, or you've experienced it and you just need someone to listen, please feel free to message me. I am always up to listen. Don't go through something alone that you need somebody that doesn't know you or does know you and you just need to talk to. So reach out, talk to me. I'm here if you ever need anybody. So just to show you what tattoo I was talking about, I decided to get something that I could feel close to when it comes to my baby. So I got this. It's a little crooked because of the way I'm twisted, but just angel wings. And sometimes I just put my hand out the window and I just rub it, and I think, he's with me. And I don't know, it just helped me through the time. And I look at it and I remember that I had a baby. For a little time, I was blessed to spend time growing him inside of me. And now I truly believe that he's in heaven with my grandpa. So, and because of my miscarriage, I've developed, I don't know how you want to say it, but anxiety. And when I look back as a child in my childhood, I do believe I was a very anxious person, but I didn't know how to express that and how I was feeling. So I've always been very shy and closed off to meeting new people and whatnot. So, anxiety is something that I'm still kind of working through, and I do have some depression. And I'm very open about it because I feel like if you keep it dark and you keep it secret, then it makes it worse, at least in my case. And that's something else that I'm always open to talk about. And I hope that if I could just help one person, just one, struggling with these issues. I don't know if I can give you answers. I know I can't, but I have great ears. I have really dark days. Like I tell Steve, my husband, sometimes I just need a hug. I just need you to hold me. I don't need you to answer questions for me. I need you there. And sometimes that's all people need. They just need an ear and they just need a hug. So I hope you guys take this video and realize it's done out of love and out of concern for others. And just know that I'm praying for you. I'm thinking of you, all of you who are struggling with anxiety and depression, and though especially those who have lost a child, a baby. I'm sorry. And I love you. God loves you. And that's all. So thank you if you took the time to listen to my story. And I hope that if you're not struggling with these things, you'll think about those who do. And maybe you'll learn a little about maybe how they might be feeling. I can't say this is how everybody feels when they struggle with these things, but I hope that it opens your eyes to understand that we all feel different things. And even if you don't quite understand it, you can just love them and appreciate them and know that it's not because they're weak. It's a struggle, and we need people who love us and care about us. Just be there. Just be there for someone. Good night.